Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard. I am heading to the gun range. I want to welcome you to today's live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about whether or not there should be a mandatory retirement age for private security guards. Is there a point at which private security guards age out and should not be working, let's just say, on the floor, so to speak, right? But before we get into that, I want to answer a subscriber question. Someone reached out to me yesterday and they asked me what my thoughts were on private security guards wearing the thin blue line patch. The thin blue line is, primarily and commonly associated with law enforcement. I've been told that the thin blue line is like the line that separates good and evil, the line that separates those who are just from the unjust. And you see it a lot on law enforcement uniforms. You see it on law enforcement centered clothing. So the question was, can private security guards wear the thin blue line emblem, and should they? So I'm going to say that my opinion is that we should not. We're not law enforcement officers. I think that, and guys, before I go any further, this conversation has been had like 700,000 times, right? We're not law enforcement officers. That's something that is industry specific to cops. And I think that, people who call themselves wearing that in solidarity, I don't want to say that it's stolen valor, but I don't think that it's appropriate. Now, some people would say, well, how can that be? Because, if my dad was a cop, or, if my brother was a cop, or if I support law enforcement, I don't think anybody would have a problem with me, wearing a thin blue line t-shirt or a thin blue line hat, and I'm going to say that I kind of agree with that. If your family is in it, if you have a family tie to law enforcement, maybe people don't necessarily look at you quite as awkwardly as if you're in private security. But for an industry like private security, where we get so much flack for trying to be cops, so much flack for impersonating law enforcement, so much flack for not knowing our role, not knowing our place, I think it's very, very dangerous for us to wear the thin blue line. Now, if you want to wear it off duty, I'm not here to kind of, no pun intended, police what you wear. But definitely while working on duty, I don't think that you should wear it. Now, there's some other reasons why you shouldn't wear it while working also. I am not saying that this is how I feel. I want to give this disclaimer, and y'all already know where I'm going with this, okay? Sorry, my truck is super bouncy, guys. Y'all already know where I'm going with this, all right? There are people, most of them on the far left, that associate the thin blue line with oppression, systemic racism, police brutality. There are people that associate the phrase Blue Lives Matter as a response to the issues that came up with the Black Lives Matter movement. Here in Portland, the thin blue line emblem, the Blue Lives Matter emblem, the Blue Lives Matter logo, very divisive in terms of people who are activists, Antifa, on the far left. I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm just giving you the rundown. So how does that apply to when you're working in private security? If you're working in private security here in Portland and you hypothetically have either of those emblems on your uniform, people will look at you some kind of way. This can cause problems, and I know for a fact that it has caused problems in certain places where the associates that work there, maybe the people that work at the bank, maybe the people that work within that warehouse, any of the places where security is posted up, if you're wearing that emblem, they are taking that as you picking a side almost, right? And in private security, the great thing about what we do is that we're ambiguous, right? We don't have a political agenda. We don't have a social agenda. We're just there to provide a service. And I have seen where people wearing the thin blue line patch or emblem, people wearing Blue Lives Matter type insignia, has caused problems at the location where they're working. At the end of the day, if you're working in private security, two things that you don't want to do: upset the apple cart in terms of the contract where you're working, and potentially upset or piss off your client. Most companies that I'm aware of say just don't wear it. Don't wear anything that's political, whether that's a thin blue line patch, a don't tread on me patch, you know, anything and everything. So I'm saying all of this as somebody who makes patches and sells patches. That's for stuff when you're off. Oh my God, that guy almost got hit by a car on a bike, not paying attention. That stuff is for when you're not on duty. You should not, in my opinion, be wearing any sort of emblems or anything other than your company provided patches, company provided logos. And it seems to be kind of the standard. I'm open to hearing what you guys think. Do you have any issues with the thin blue line emblem? Do you have any issues with, you know, Blue Lives Matter type patches or anything on your uniform while working? Again, whatever you rock and whatever you wear, whatever you have on your plate carriers, your bags, or anything like that, when you're not on the job, completely, you know, okay. What are your thoughts about it when you're working? We had a guy, and again, this goes back to 2020. We had a situation where I was working once where, and you know, this is like Portland, so everybody here is an activist, right? And at the location where we were servicing, we had a security guard. I don't know if he had been a police officer, but I think he was just trying to show solidarity with the cops, because everything about law enforcement, everything about the cops here in Portland in 2020, it was all negative. People were just talking, you know, so much junk about the cops, and it was right at the height of the defund movement. So this guy shows up to work wearing a thin blue line patch, and then on the back of his truck, he had one of those Calvin emblems in the back window, and it said "Piss on liberals." So a lot of the people that work at this location, rightfully so here in Portland, they identify as liberal or far left. Some people actually identified as card-carrying Antifa, right? So he shows up and people immediately complain. They're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable. That's one of the phrases you hear a lot here in Portland. I don't feel comfortable with this guy wearing this patch, having a firearm, and being in this location. So the manager comes over, and the manager's like, hey bro, like, you know, no disrespect, but I'm gonna have to ask you to take off the thin blue line patch. And he didn't want to do it, right? He was like, look, other people at this location have on, you know, pride flags. Other people have on, like, you know, their pronouns, all kinds of things. Like, if they can do that, then I'm gonna wear my thin blue line patch. Already, you know, the contract holder has said they don't want something. That should basically be the end of the conversation, but it became like this contentious argument. Within like either an hour or so of that conversation or the next day, that same officer, and guys, keep in mind that this is 2020, that same officer gets into a hands-on situation with a black customer, okay? This happens in one of the aisles. It becomes a fight. He ends up throwing the subject into one of the, like the shelving units where the stuff is stocked or whatever. Everything goes flying everywhere and people are filming. So imagine from the perspective of the client, the fear that they had of retribution and issues coming from the fact that the security guard had gone hands-on with the black individual, the height of 2020, all the riots going on, all the protests, right in the middle of the defund movement, and the person that's filming on camera is like, oh, and I see you've got the thin blue line on, like you're one of those guys. Now, I've said this so many times on videos just like this. We can debate on the validity of the conversation. We can debate on whether or not he has the right to wear that or believe that. I'm not taking a side. I'm just telling you how it worked out. Corporate came down with an edict to our supervisor and company, and they were like, moving forward, no one will have any sort of insignia, any sort of patches outside of what is mandated by your company. There will be no thin blue line. There'll be no Blue Lives Matter. There'll be no anything else. And there was no question about whether or not the people that worked in that location could still wear the pins, buttons, and things that they wanted to, right? Because at the end of the day, they're the client and they're going to make the rules. So the person that was told to take this patch off, he didn't appreciate it. He didn't like it. He didn't like how he was being treated in that situation. I think that ultimately he quit and just went somewhere else. But them's be the breaks, man. That's kind of how it happens. So we went off on this tangent of the thin blue line patch, the Blue Lives Matter patch. My stance, if you want to show solidarity while you're off, if you want to support that while you're off, I 100% respect that. I would not suggest that you wear it while working or while in uniform. I think that it plays into a lot of the stereotypes and misconceptions about private security trying to act like law enforcement. And I don't know that cops look at that and go, hey, these guys are in solidarity with us. I don't think that it's looked at favorably. So I would stay away from it, okay? Now, my main question for today was, should there be a mandatory retirement age for private security guards to come off the floor, so to speak? You know, I'm 46. I'm getting older. I'm doing my absolute best to get back in shape, lose some weight, be healthier. But I read a story where a private security guard was, I want to say in his mid-60s, got into a situation, got into a fight. He gets hit, he falls back, he hits his head, and it kills him. A lot of people are saying, why was this guy working in this environment at this age? I made a video last week, or maybe it was the week before, about a security guard that was working in Mississippi. This guy was like 65. He approaches 3 young teenagers, 15, 16, 17 years old, tries to get them to stop loitering on the property. They take his firearm from him and they kill him, execution style. Both of these situations, security guards that are over the age of 60. The question is, should there be a point, age-wise, in which we pull security guards out of those situations? Now, clearly, how do you mandate that? There's no way to mandate that. That would be called age discrimination, and you can't do it. But I'm asking in more of a hypothetical. Since we can't do it legally, since it's probably not moral or ethical to even do something like that, and I would agree with that. I think that if people want to work, they can work, they should be able to work, especially if they want to work in security. Or from a hypothetical standpoint, it would be better for private security guards to not be in a situation where they're working these environments that are hands-on, or working these environments that are high threat. But like many of the other videos I've told you guys, everything's kind of becoming a high threat now. Your soft targets, places that conceivably shouldn't be very dangerous, those are the places that are getting shot up the most now. So should there be an age where we say, look, maybe it's time to pull you off the floor and not have you interacting with people where potentially you could be in a hands-on situation? What are your thoughts on that? I would love for you guys to give me some comments below. Let me know what you think, if you think that that's a positive or a negative. I will say this before I get off of here. Older security guards, in my opinion, not because I'm getting close to that age myself, but in general, they bring a lot to the table. The experience, not only of working in private security, but their experience in life is so valuable. Their maturity, and when I say maturity, that goes to, understanding that sometimes you have to work late, sometimes you have to go in early, sometimes you have to come in on your days off. That's a very difficult concept for a lot of younger people, younger demographics to kind of grasp, right? The attitude and the understanding of hard work, the attitude and the understanding of respect for authority, a lot of that you're only seeing in a little bit of that older generation of people. And I think if you're running a business, that's very valuable to you. My stance would be that it doesn't matter arbitrarily like what age someone is working as a private security guard. They just have to be effective. If they're older and they're effective, they should be able to work. If they're older and they're still able to do the job, they're still able to perform, they should be able to work. But I do have some fears and some reservations about people working in capacities where potentially they can get hurt, harmed, or killed a little bit easier based on their age and the frailty of their body. But I'm going to leave that up to you guys to give me your thoughts. So quick recap before I get off here. We talked about the thin blue line patch. Should you wear it on your uniform while working private security? And then should there be a specific retirement age mandated for private security guards to get out of the environment of working directly hands-on with the public? I want to know what you guys think. All right. I am close to the shooting range and I'll be dropping some videos here a little bit later. Hope you guys are having a great day. Please make sure you're being careful if you're working. Watch your back, watch your six.